Hi, good evening. My name is Joyce, and I would like to answer 8 different questions. One question, the very first question rather, is what is your favorite thing being a teacher? As a teacher, I like making connections, meaningful connections with my students, whether they be children or adults. And I'd like actually to ask my student how they are in a day. Like, how was your day today? It's not just the simple questions like, what is the weather out there in your area? And I like actually, having good conversations with them. And that happens to be in a free conversation or what other people consider as free talk. I would love to definitely impart my knowledge in terms of, speaking the English language. Like, for example, the grammar, the vocabulary, and how to form simple and basic sentences. Well, of course, it all differs. If it's a beginner student, then everything should start in a simple, vocabulary, say for example. But when the student is more advanced, then of course we would normally talk about deeper things. And the second question is, what is challenging being a teacher? Well, being a teacher, we face so many challenges. Like, for example, there are students who have different styles of learning. Yes, they learn differently. And it's my job being a teacher to actually encourage them and motivate them to learn, perhaps in their own pace. And it is my responsibility to make the classroom actually very engaging, very lively. And it requires me also actually to have more patience, flexibility, and resilience. And I need to be very creative as well. I have to cater to the needs, to the learning style of my student. So yes, the fourth question now is actually, can you tell us about an incident or a time when you made a mistake with a student? I can still recall that during the early years of my teaching career, it was that I had a tendency of overcorrecting the student, which I realized right away. And from then on, I was actually overcorrecting the student in terms of their grammar, in terms of how they have to construct their sentences. But the good thing is that I actually quickly recovered by instead of, like, for example, when I give the feedback, I made it a point to actually tell the student first, the achievement, what they did correctly. Like, for example, if the grammar was correct, like the how they enunciate certain words was correct, or when some words were actually pronounced correctly, I would say, that was a good job, and keep it up, okay? Cheers. And then so that was mainly it. I basically would give first the good feedback and then later on correct them. That's all. So we go to question number 5. What is your perspective about error correction in classroom? Actually, error correction is very, very important and essential in learning. So, for example, if my student and I are doing a role play, I would normally not say anything. I will not comment on any error or mistake my student has actually committed. I will just keep silent and actually continue with our role play. But after the role play, I would tell my student, I normally adhere to the NCR method, which means N is notice, C is actually to correct, and R is repeat. Say, for example, I would ask my student, desert? Is that desert or is it dessert? And then I would say that was how I noticed actually his making the mistake. And then after that, I will correct him and then I will repeat again. So it's actually not desert, but it's actually dessert. I'll make him understand, where the error or the mistake had occurred. So that's it. And of course, when I make the correction, it will always be in a respectful, and I would have to make it a point that I have to be gentle and respectful in correcting the error or the mistake of the student. That's all. So actually, the sixth question is, what could you do if the student seems to be nervous or untalkative? Actually, when I happen to come across students who are not talking too much and they don't want to open their mouth, what I normally do is actually slower the speed of my talking, because I have the tendency to speak very fast. So I would say, how are you today? How's the weather out there in your area? How was your sleep last night? I'll try my very best to make them at ease. And I'm not going to force them, but I'll try to make it like to be a friendly environment. I would say, please try be comfortable, and let's have I'm not going to be your tutor for today, but I will be your friend for today. Would that be okay? And I will just make them feel comfortable. So the seventh question is actually, is company culture important to you? Why or why not? For me, company culture is very important because I have to be teaching in an environment wherein the management they are positive, they have very good communication styles, and when they are actually very supportive of the teachers like us, so it gives me the motivation to actually want to succeed in my being a teacher and to be able to impart to my students the knowledge of the English language. So if I know that the culture is aligned to my values, and my values is also aligned to the culture of the company, that makes me comfortable, that makes me want to achieve more for the company. And it's very important for me to actually understand the mission and the vision of the company that I'm working for. So the number 8 question is, what do you want to know more about Craving English? What I would like to know about Craving English is that about the teaching approach of our company, and also how are you going to be how are you going to support both student and teachers in an online English environment? And perhaps another question would be, are you really going to be teaching us, basic Spanish at least? And I believe the third one would be, do you have any room for personal development or opportunities, like say for example, to climb the corporate ladder,